Hi, this is Runa, and you're listening to the Changemakers podcast, where we share tips, insight, tools, and stories from other changemakers designed to motivate you to become the change you want to see in your world. Make sure you join our Changemakers community at runamagnus.com/podcast. And now, this is your time to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Love this one. Meet Keisha. She's an international best-selling author, motivational speaker, positive psychologist, and the CEO and trailblazer behind the Women of Contribution movement. Have you heard about the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self? Well, that's her thing. And in this interview, Keisha shares what happened, why did she start it, and how is the world changing right now. The moment that she took the steps to leave her limiting box and step into the world. And now that's what she's doing with women worldwide. Her goal is a big and bold one. 1 billion women is what she wants to impact worldwide. Oof, I'm all for that. Have fun, listen to Keisha share her story. Kezia, thank you for being a guest on the Changemakers podcast. You are just about to publish a book that just gives you goosebumps when you read the title. Can you share with us why writing this book in the first place? And what's the whole purpose? What is it you want to achieve by sharing your message?
Firstly, thank you so much, Runa, for having me on. The book is called the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self. And I'll be totally honest with you, it came as a vision. So I was out walking on Boxing Day in the UK. It was a cold, wet, horrible, miserable morning in the UK, as often happens. And I got up really early and started walking my normal walk. And within probably about 5 minutes of the walk, I started hearing voices and seeing pictures and hearing questions that were just coming like thick and fast, literally one after the other. And it got so bad, it was just like, okay, fair enough. So I went home, sat in front of the computer, started typing, and it was like my fingers had a mind of their own. They were just typing 19 to the dozen. And when I sat back and read what I'd written, it was about a movement called Women of Contribution, where every single woman on this planet understands that when they collaborate and share their gifts with the world, they can leave an impactful footprint. But also about a book, because so many women that I was speaking to in my role as a positive psychologist were saying, you know, I'd love to contribute to the world, but I've got nothing to give. And the book, the Pay It Forward series, Notes to My Younger Self, is really about the fact that even something as simple as a story can change other people's lives. You know, the simplicity and you know, people tell stories from the minute that they are able to speak. We're able to tell those stories. So it's kind of evolved from that.
Wow. That is absolutely unbelievable to hear. And so the movement, tell me, now that I know that you started the movement, where is it at? What's happening with that?
Well, it's kind of like a gift from the universe, I suppose. When you follow, you know, the signs that are being showcased to you. When I started sharing about the book, and the idea about the book is slightly different than many of the books over there. It's a collaborative book, 18 women from around the world, all writing notes back to their younger self, and that's a therapeutic process I take them through to kind of release the meanings that they've attached to certain stories. And we all have those moments where we're kind of plunged into darkness and we wonder whether we're ever going to see the lights. And, you know, in hindsight, we can look back and go, would I have done things differently? And that's what Notes to My Younger Self is about, is what would you write back to your younger self? And what kind of words of advice would you give? And the idea is that once you have read the book, there is a message box in the front of the book. And after you've read it, you write your own message of hope and inspiration to another person out into the world. And then you put a post-it note on the front of the book that says, this book's for you, read it, love it, pay it forward. And you leave that book for a stranger to find. So
wow, I love that. Wow, yeah. Goosebumps.
You leave it on a train, you leave it on a plane, you leave it in a cafe. And the idea is that, we want to spread random acts of kindness, random acts of love. If you're having a really bad day and you all of a sudden see a book and you open it up and there's a message from a complete and utter stranger just saying, do you know what? You're an inspiration. Keep going. It gives you hope. And so this is the movement that we started a year ago with the first volume of the Pay It Forward. And we're just about to launch the second one on March the 1st.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. And the whole concept of paying forward and just sharing those stories. I believe I was listening to Oprah Winfrey. I think it was Oprah Winfrey who was saying in all the stories that she's interviewed and where people have been actually asking themselves this question, the things that what would you tell your younger self? The most common thing is, don't worry, everything is going to be okay. Yeah.
And it is funny because at the end of each chapter, I ask a question of all of our contributors, and that is, would you change anything?
Yeah.
Every single one of them has said no, in so much as they would have liked things to have sped up slightly, or they would have liked to have, thought about it in a different way. But actually, those experiences has made them who they are. It's the reason that they're going out into the world in the way that they are and changing the world in the way that they are. Those experiences make us. And we often try and cover them up and pretend that they didn't happen, or we're worried about sharing them in case of judgment or, other people making judgment on those stories. But actually our biggest empowering, inspirational thing that we can do is share those stories.
Share those stories, exactly. And like you're saying as well, when it comes to that time and place that you do want to share your story, but this is what I've often encountered myself. People might want to share their story, and they should share their story. But what I'm seeing so often is that, number one, and you actually mentioned this a little bit, number one, do I really have a story that is that interesting? My story is nothing. Everyone has done that, that type of thing. And then what you mentioned was, how can I contribute to a bigger thing, to a bigger cause, to have a deeper purpose in my life? And how on earth is my story connected with that? It's like there's a disconnection between those two. Yeah. What do you say to women that are coming your way with that story? Well, it's a story saying that.
It is a story. I think the thing is that quite often, women think, well, I've not been through anything really, really bad, because a lot of women say, well, I've got nothing to share because, I wasn't made homeless, or I didn't have abuse in the family, or in actual fact, just by being us, and stripping back the mask that we all so often wear, just by being us, we are contribution enough. Our story, it doesn't matter whether you grew up in a beautiful childhood and had the best life ever. That story is as important as somebody that's been through the darkness and come through the light, because actually it's made you who you are today. And I think especially in the entrepreneur world where I kind of sit, I see so many women that go, well, there are so many women that do what I do. But I keep saying they don't do it the way you do it, because nobody can do it the way that you can do it. Nobody can talk about it the way you talk about it, or have the experience or have the background. Even if you had two identical twins, the way that we view the world, the lens that we put on the world that we see is totally different. Therefore, the story we create in our mind will be totally different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could not agree with you more. When I was talking to and speaking and training on my concept, branding your X factor, it was really about finding that X factor. And so often I would hear, well, I an X factor. I don't have really an X factor, but yes, you do exactly on the same level that you're talking about. So share with us, what is your big, huge vision for the movement and where you want the whole concept to go? Share with us.
Yeah, I don't know whether your listeners probably wouldn't have seen, but I just took a massive deep breath in, because it's just, sometimes it can be overwhelming at the thought of what we're aiming to do, but I'm not doing it alone. Obviously, I've got the women from the Pay It Forward Notes to My Younger Self book, and also the women from the Women of Contribution group, and various other activities that we run. But our mission really is to impact on 1 billion lives, not only paying it forward with the books, but also a percentage of the books goes to female-based charities, but also the lives that get touched by somebody buying that book and paying it forward. And I just see it as that ripple effect that, just one person can ripple out. We all know that if you're walking towards a door and you open the door for somebody coming in the opposite direction and you give them a smile, how contagious that can be, that smile that then goes on. It's kind of like a yawn. Somebody yawns, everybody yawns. And actually, when we do something good that really brings our heart full with joy, the ripple effect can be seen across the globe. And I'm just really passionate. I just want every woman to know that you don't have to do massive, big, grand gestures. Just by being you're sending a ripple out into the world.
Just by being you're sending the ripple effect out. I absolutely love that. So get rid of your labels or the boxes, like we talk about in the No More Boxes movement. Trust that you are enough as you are, and pay it forward. Share your story with another person who needs to know as well that they are not alone, and where there's more that connects us than divides us. So, but it really starts with ourselves, doesn't it? It really starts with ourselves.
Most definitely.
It most certainly do. So where should our audience go and find out more to be part of this movement and to find the book? Well, we will share the link to the book for sure on the show notes. But in case they're listening on Apple Podcast or Stitcher, where should they go?
The main place that we hang out is the Women of Contribution group on Facebook. We do have a website, which is womenofcontribution.com. But in actual fact, from a day-to-day basis, that's where I and other people hang out. And then we have the official Pay It Forward Notes to My Younger Self book on Facebook. But the easiest way is, we've got volume 1 that's out on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon, buy a paperback copy. Actually, buy 2. Keep 1 for yourself and share it amongst your family and friends, and 1 to gift out to the world. And then we have volume 2 being launched on Friday the 1st on Kindle. And then on International Women's Day, the paperback version is coming out, where we've got a big launch down in Windsor, where we've got some guest speakers coming. So that's where we're going to be.
Oh, wow. I'm going to head into Amazon immediately and get my copies so that I can share and pay it forward. This has been so insightful. I am so excited for this podcast to go live and to hear women and men who want to pay it forward and share their wisdom to the world. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Changemakers podcast.
Thank you.
Was this podcast of value for you? I sure hope so. If so, feel free to share the love and give us your generous review on iTunes or Stitcher. And remember that you can always go to runemagnus.com to find out more about the Changemakers and how we can help you drive the change you want to see in your world.